Are you looking to buy or sell your home within the next month, year, 2 years from now? Anytime are you looking to buy or sell a home? You have found the right place. Today, I am going over 10 misconceptions to set new expectations so that you're not surprised when you're ready to make that move to either sell or buy a home. Nothing is worse than being so excited about something and then finding out that you have to wait another year in order to do it. Trust me. Let these misconceptions with new expectations guide you, and always feel free to use the comment section as a resource so that I can learn more about what you are curious about so I can bring more value to you. And hang in there to the end. I have a little freebie for you that you can take with you after this video. And the last question, you don't want to miss that one. It is probably the most common misconception right now with the current market. Without wasting any more time, let's get into it. By the way, my name is Shae Taylor. I am a local real estate agent in Charleston in South Carolina, formerly a school teacher, and this is the class you never had that I never had either. Buying and selling real estate is a fundamental of life, especially if you're interested in building your personal wealth. I don't know why, and I have so much passion on this, I don't know why this is not written into our curriculum, because so many people I've worked with, including myself, I didn't even know where to begin. I didn't even know what I didn't know. So this is me trying to bridge that gap. Anyways, back to the programming. Common misconception to create a new expectation. The down payment is the only thing I'm gonna have to pay to buy a house. So while it is a common misconception that closing costs are just the down payment, let's clear that up right now. The down payment is not the only thing that you will be likely paying at closing. There are also fees for the lender and the attorneys. I like to separate that in my mind as those are the closing costs, and then you have the down payment as well, just in preparation for your closing and before you even start looking for a home. So the umbrella term of closing costs, which you'll hear time and probably more frequently than not, that is usually including all of these things. The down payment, as well as the fees for the lenders and the attorneys, and any other fees or credits in the buyer agent or seller agent compensation that's included in that. There's multiple parts. That's all of closing costs, not just the down payment. I go into depth on the down payment percentage as well as the range of percentage that is the cost for the fees for attorneys and lenders. You can take a look and find those videos here on my channel, here on my page, and follow for more knowledge and tips on how to buy and sell a home. Common misconception to set a new expectation. The seller will fix all the items on my repair list. If your list is short and focusing on the most important safety issues, maybe that could happen. I don't, in my opinion, see it happen very often that a seller covers everything, but if it is showing on the inspection report that these are really important safety precautions that need to be fixed and repaired to sell this home, then they're gonna be more likely to get it done because they know any buyer is gonna ask for those things to be done. But with that being said, if the list is long and there's things on there that don't cover important safety items such as cosmetics, don't expect those things to be agreed upon to be repaired. It's very important that you take this part of the process very carefully. This is where most deals actually fall apart. I like to call this a dance. You take a couple steps forward and then allow the seller to take a couple of steps. It's a balance without stepping on each other's toes, and you take as many of these steps back and forth to find that balance, as many as it takes, until you find a place that both you and the seller are comfortable with. That is how you win and create the magic in this dance when it comes to having repair items fixed by the seller. A common misconception to set a new expectation. The seller will pay for all of my closing costs. I hate to burst any bubbles, but we're unfortunately not seeing that so much anymore. Depends on the market, depends on the demand of the home or the neighborhood. In our country, we are still seeing the majority of everywhere being in a seller's market. So what that means is that they have more power in their pocket, not so much the buyers. But it doesn't mean not to try. It just depends on, again, the demand on the home and the market. If it is a high demand home, and you have fallen in love with it and you love it so much, the best way you can strengthen your offer is to put closing costs requested by the seller at 0 or very, very small. Please don't hear me say that I don't want you to try to save as much money as possible, but my goal is to also make sure that my clients get the home that they absolutely love. I want both of these things for them. So it's a balance, and every buyer, every client is going to make a decision on what they're comfortable with for the home that they fell in love with, or this will be the deal breaker that this isn't the right home. You have to make that decision for yourself. All in all, every home is going to have its own unique approach to solidifying a winning contract. There are many variables at play, also considering what you yourself are comfortable with. Common misconception: I can break my lease at any time whenever I'm ready to buy a home. Please, 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 please don't do that. There's a better way that will save you money and also make the transition into buying a home much more smooth. On average, it takes about 30 to 35 days after you get a contract, your offer ratified and agreed upon between the seller and you, to the day you get your keys. And that's not considering the amount of time it will take for you to actually go on the home searching journey and find a home that you love and lock it down. It might not be the first one. I recommend that you at least get in touch with a realtor and a lender a month and a half before you're wanting to start having conversations with your leasing office. It might take 2 weeks, a month for you and your realtor to find the perfect home for you. Your first offer might not get accepted and you might have to keep looking for homes. Maybe you'll find the right one right away, but then you can slow down the rest of the process to still close at the time that you need it, so that you have that smooth transition from one place to the next. Meaning no short-term lease, no lease penalties or smaller lease penalties, as well as days to move in ahead of time, not having to rent necessarily a truck. You can move your things slowly over time, and saving money on pods. You wouldn't have to buy any then. All of this can save you thousands, trust me. One last little tidbit that I want to add in here is that the reason why you want to start a month and a half at least before is because you have more control and power, as I said, to slow down the process afterwards. After you find the house, after you lock it in, you can slow down and put the closing date later. But you can't change when time has passed and what obstacles you might come up against, such as if your leasing office doesn't allow you to cancel without a very high fee, or your lender isn't able to give you a pre-approval within 24 hours, which would be the fastest and earliest I've seen. It might take a couple of weeks, maybe 1, maybe 2, just dependent on your financial situation. This just gives more room for often the surprises that come with the home buying journey. Common misconception: I will find my home right away. I'm not saying that that won't happen, it definitely could, but more times than not, it takes a couple of weeks for you to lock down on your next home sweet home. The reason for that is not that the trouble typically lies in finding something that you love, it's in getting the offer accepted, or some unexpected scary things come up on the inspection report. There are more bumps in the road than not, usually, when it comes to locking down a home. So even when you think that you are into this home, you're in escrow, you could find out that you want to terminate because of something that's just awful with the foundation, or the house is falling apart and they just made it look really pretty with some paint on the outside. In a nutshell, I don't want you to lose heart or any hope on finding your just right home. The just right home is out there, and whether it's the first one, the second, or the third, or so on one, your agent should be, I would be with you from the very beginning to the very end and beyond the home. I know, a little fluffy, a little mushy, but I can't help it. If you've been here for a while, you know I can't help it, and I really mean it. Common misconception to set a new expectation: I only need to save for a down payment to buy a home. Right away after your offer is accepted by the seller, you'll pay your earnest money deposit, which is 1%. So 1% of whatever your offer that was accepted, agreed upon, will then go and be wired to either, depend on your state, the brokerage or the attorney. Here in South Carolina, it's the attorney. Right behind that, within the same week or so, this is due diligence period, you will have to also pay for an inspection and the CL100 test. They're both 2 different types of inspections. Fast forward 20-ish days later, give or take, or if it's an abnormal situation, maybe longer, maybe shorter, but either way, at closing time, You have, yes, the down payment, but also your other closing costs. So that was the lender fees and the attorney fees, any credits that were negotiated during the earlier process of escrow, and your agent commission. If you take one thing from this point, I think the biggest surprise is usually when buyers don't know that they have to pay out of their pocket, their bank account, right away after going under contract with that earnest money deposit and having a good $500 some for inspections. Common misconception: I have great credit, I won't have any problems getting pre-approved. That might be the case, and you might get pre-approved right away. But I just want you to know there are many other factors that a lender will look at when you start the application for your pre-approval. They'll take a look at your credit history, they'll look at if you're co-signed on any other loans, and most importantly, your debt to income ratio. There are many other factors that a professional lender can talk to you and walk you through so you better understand the pre-approval process, but there are many items that can get in the way of you becoming pre-approved, and they might not be things that you expected. I don't say this to alarm you or to scare you, but just to prepare you. And the reason why it's so important to be prepared is because when you are ready to buy a home, you want to buy a home. I know that frustration and that eagerness together. I want a home, but now I'm not approved, and now I gotta do this, I gotta do that, so I just get approved, but I can't afford this home, but why can't I just get this approval? I know, lending, there's a lot of different hurdles that have to be jumped. It's all about the numbers and all about what's shown on paper, not just based on words and best judgment from one human to the other. And the way you can best prepare is actually reaching out to a lender way before you're ready to buy a home. There's even something called a pre-qualification instead of a pre-approval, where it does not do a hard credit check, and they can take a general look within 24 hours at your financial standing and strength to tell you where you're at, how likely you'd be pre-approved now as you are right now, so that you know if you're in a good place for in the future when you're ready to buy a home. And if you don't really like the feedback that you get, the lender can then advise you how you can best work towards your goals. This is the best way to be prepared, successful, ready to go with the least amount of bumps in the road when it comes time that you are itching to get into your next home sweet home. Not sure where to get started and who to connect with? Reach out to your realtor. Reach out to someone that you're vibing with on Instagram. If you're in the South Carolina, Charleston area, reach out to me. I have some favorite lenders that I love working with because I know they take care of my people, and I can reach them anytime and they can reach me at any time, and they put all their heart, effort, mind, soul into their clients. You can tell I'm going down the rabbit hole. It just matters so much, and honestly, it matters so much because dependent on the lender and also dependent on the real estate agent, it could actually mean if your deal, if your transaction, if your home actually makes it to the closing table. It probably looks so crazy and serious right now, but just some different experiences working with different lenders. Doesn't always go as smoothly as possible, and communication has to be very open and fluid among everybody. That is why it's very important to connect with a lender way before you're ready to buy a home. Common misconception: to set a new expectation. Wow, my lender has pre-approved me for so much higher than I expected. Oh my gosh, I can increase the range of prices on the homes I'm looking at on Zillow. All silliness aside, it's exciting when you get those numbers, and maybe it will actually be worthwhile and work for you. But this is something I just want to make you aware of. Often, lenders are able to pre-approve you for much higher than what you're going to be comfortable with. Let me explain. Back before I was a real estate agent and I was looking at getting my first home, I spent hours looking on Zillow. I had these houses that I loved, and then my 1 second ago hired realtor that I just connected with at a Starbucks, I showed him the houses and he said, "Oh, these are beautiful, but the monthly payment that you will pay for that price point that yes, you're pre-approved to, you told me you're not going to be comfortable with that number." So back to you. Your pre-approval might be much higher than you expected, but with that, that means that the mortgage you pay every month is also going to be higher. Only you know other bills, savings ambitions, investment goals, other unforeseen things that maybe you're planning that your lender doesn't know. And so at the bottom line, well, yes, you've got this ticket that says you can buy this home up to this amount. Don't forget to check, is this a monthly mortgage that I can afford? Keyword, comfortably afford. Common misconception: Before I buy a home, I will look for a job that pays me more so that I have more to spend. Sounds great. Sounds good. But here's the kicker. If you are looking to buy a home within the next 2 years, stay where you're at or make the switch now. The reason why I say that is because when you start the process, your lender is going to want 2 years of consecutive payroll statements from the same employer. You might be curious why they want that. It just shows that you have stability in your income and that they can trust that you will pay back your loan. Now, if you are trying to buy a home within the next 2 years, like you are looking this year or within a couple months, try to stay exactly where you are. As soon as you get the keys at closing, then you can switch jobs. Gain 2 things this way: building your wealth with an asset that will continue to appreciate for you, and 2, your salary increases. Right there, you just exponentially increased your personal wealth. Down to the juicy one, the last one, number 10. I hear this all the time, and so please, I know this is cliche as a real estate agent, but please see me as a friend who has been watching the real estate market and all of its trends for over the past 10 years. So while yes, an interest rate can drop by maybe a point, maybe more within the next year, but from what we've been seeing, not so likely, not at this time. Either way, what we are seeing as a trend is that although interest rates have dropped, the prices of homes have continued to increase. Let me explain to you what that means and why this dynamic and understanding the dynamic is very important. Yes, an interest rate will raise your monthly mortgage, but so will the price point of a home. So in the future, the homes are becoming more and more expensive. The interest rates might drop, but the home in a year from now, even if that point drops by 1 or 2, you might still be looking at the same exact monthly mortgage payment, but paying more for a down payment and closing costs and buyer or seller agent commission fees. While you might wait for the interest rates to drop, what we're seeing is that home prices are continuing to rise at a much more faster rate. What that means is, and what's so important for you to understand between this dynamic of interest rate and rising home prices, is that if in a year from now you wait, the interest rate might drop, the house prices we know for more certain are going to rise. So even if the rate drops, that means that your monthly mortgage is likely going to still be the same as if you bought right now. So you're probably still wondering, why not wait until next year? Well, with a higher price point on a home, you're gonna pay more for a down payment still. You're gonna pay more for closing costs. You're gonna pay more on your agent commission fees because they're all percentages of the price point that you're willing to pay for a home. Also, the thing that's such a bummer is that sometimes people find that they can't actually buy anymore a year from now because of how quickly the prices of homes are increasing. You can always change your interest rate by refinancing, but you can't change, and I can't change, and we can't change the public's view of how much they're willing to pay on a home. That's the value of the home. That's what we call the market. I want to say this with a smile because I know that's pretty solemn, but I always want to be real and honest with you. Now is always the best time to buy if you can afford it and if it makes sense for your life. Okay, everyone, that is a wrap. If you have made it this far, then as I promised, you get the freebie. It's in the description down below. It is a checklist of do's and don'ts of preparing to buy a home. If you found this video helpful, if you found the checklist helpful, please give this a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. And please use the comments down below to let me know any questions you have. I always want to bring the most value to you to answer your questions and bring just more knowledge to buying a home or selling a home. This is all about building your personal wealth here. So please use me as your resource. I'm an open book, open door. Reach out however you like. Pigeon and carrier. Send a letter in the mail. Any of it is totally fine. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.